This episode is powered by Specialized Recruiting Group in Livonia, helping businesses find top-tier talent and professionals land their next big opportunity. Welcome to Ghosted by the Machine, the podcast where job seekers break through the algorithm and finally get heard. No filters, no bots, just real conversations about what's actually happening in today's hiring system. I'm your host, Mark Lane, and today's guest is someone who's helped a lot of people navigate their careers, but has also gone through that journey himself. Andrew MacAskill works with professionals who are trying to figure out what's next, how to move forward, and how to build something more meaningful in their work. Andrew, great to have you here. Welcome to Ghosted by the Machine.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mark. Absolutely love the name of this podcast. I think you're touching on something that people are really worried about. So I'm really interested to see where the conversation goes today.
Well, thank you very much. And I know you're in a different time zone than us, so I appreciate you making arrangements to be with us. And I read your bio. I've seen you on LinkedIn. You've helped a ton of people navigate their careers, but you've also gone through it yourself. When you were in that moment of transition, what hit you that you didn't fully understand before as a coach?
Yeah, brilliant question. I think the first thing that really hit me was how much of an actual grieving process it is. Like it's very easy as a coach or just as a friend or as a family member to speak to somebody who's going through some kind of career transition, just give platitudes, right? It's okay. You'll get snapped up. You've got plenty to offer. Don't worry. Enjoy the time off. All of these things that are really, really well-meaning. Yeah, they're really, really well-meaning, but they completely misunderstand the transition that you're going through and how it feels. And it really is a grieving cycle. It's the only way I can describe it. The data suggests that actually a career transition after grieving a death and divorce is the third most traumatic event that will happen in an adult's life. So being made redundant and laid off is no joke. And whilst I knew that, I don't think until I went through it, I quite understood the depth of that feeling. I don't know if that resonates with your own experience at all.
Well, I mean, I've been out of work for 15 months.
Yeah.
So, and I can tell you that I went through a process of, going to bed, waking up in the middle of the night going, what do I do tomorrow? I've got this resume to get out, this person to contact. I had a list. I had an Excel file of all my contacts that I would go through randomly, the old Rolodex, who am I going to call? What can you do for me? Can you help me? And I get the same thing, like you just said, hey, you're going to get a job. You're too qualified. You're going to get a job. But in this environment, it doesn't work that way anymore. There's so many firewalls along that.
There really are. Yeah, there really are. And I think, the pandemic was one pinch point, and we did a lot of work. We launched a book during the pandemic to try and help people navigate their job search during that. And I think now's another one. It's a very clear inflection point whereby you've got this horrible collision of factors. You've got, AI and automation coming in. You've got geopolitical uncertainty, and you've got the most risk-averse hiring market that I've ever seen. People are so damn worried about making a decision. 11, 12 stage hiring processes, all of this absolute madness that's going on. So I really feel for everybody that is navigating it, yourself included. It's a really tricky time. And I think it's important to remember that nothing that we're feeling is unique. And what history's told me through the last 5 or 6 years of job search coaching and running online communities in this space is that, everybody's feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. And that helps, because I think at times your own inner critic can pop up and start trying to convince you that you're no longer of value or there's something wrong with you, when actually there's some macro factors at play here that are really playing against us. So important context.
So you talk a lot about people being unhappy at work or just feeling stuck. From what you're seeing, what's really driving that right now? Why does it feel like so many people just are just aren't fulfilled?
Yeah, so actually in their jobs, it's terrifying when you look at the Gallup data and other things around where people are at. Our overall mission is to end career-based misery. That's the kind of tag that sits above all of the work that we've done in the last 20 years. And we're failing, right? Because there's a lot of really miserable people out there. To answer your question directly, Mark, there's a few factors at play here. Number one, at the moment, people are accepting job misery in return for job security because they've all got friends and family that are going through some kind of layoff or transition process, and they're going, that doesn't look much fun. So even if I'm only a 4 out of 10 happy, I'm going to stay put right now and wait this out. So there's a lot of that going on. If you look at the LinkedIn separation rate, so these are the amount of folks that are pressing open to work on LinkedIn whilst in a job. So not open to work, whilst in transition, open to work whilst in a role. That's down 40% versus pre-pandemic levels. People aren't moving. People aren't moving, and it's because of a fear and uncertainty and a lack of security. And they've all seen, as I say, they've all seen horror stories in the market and seen the horror stories in LinkedIn in terms of people's experiences right now.
So talking about LinkedIn, it feels like everyone's posting, everyone's building a brand, but a lot of people still aren't getting anywhere. What are people getting wrong about LinkedIn right now?
Yeah, so LinkedIn have changed their algorithm up quite significantly. And we've spent a lot of time over the last few weeks in particular, having hit the job market myself in the last few weeks, getting back into understanding that algorithm and learning what's going on. And ultimately, what we need to do now is train the algorithm on our needs. And it's all about relevance. So if you're going on, and this is where the job seeker community becomes a challenge, if you're going on and only interacting with other job seekers and through the right intentions, only commenting on other job seeker posts and things, you're training the algorithm to say, I'm only interested in other job seekers and send my posts to other job seekers, rather than your target market. And what the algorithm's all about now is relevance rather than reaction. So in the old days, people used to game the algorithm, get loads of reactions early on a post, and it blew up, right? And we went from 10,000 followers to 100,000 followers in a year during the pandemic with that kind of virality going on in the content. That doesn't happen now. That doesn't happen. What happens is it looks at your profile, it looks at the audience that's interacting with it, and it looks to make far more specific matches, because it doesn't just want to be another social platform. It wants to be where business gets done. So they understand that the relevance is what's important. So as job seekers, we need to make sure that our LinkedIn profile, number one, appeals to the search algorithm so that anyone searching for us can find us because we're well optimized. But number two, that we're posting on topics that are mentioned in that profile where we have clear experience in the past, rather than veering off. Because if we veer off into areas where the algorithm can't see that expertise, it will rank your post down. So there's just been a few tweaks, and it's an interesting one to navigate.
Yeah, when you post now, I'm not seeing the analytics that I saw before.
No.
And now they're saying you have to save. If you see something, you have to save it. That's going to boost you 5 times more.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, but it's their platform, and we've got to play by their rules. They keep moving that goalpost.
We have, that's right. And look, there's no doubt that it's not as, nobody's getting the reach that they were. I'm down about 60-70% versus peak, So we've gone from maybe 1 million views a month to 300,000 type thing. So it's pretty severe. But then I say to myself, well, if I was to tell you that, you could post for free on a platform to 1.2 billion professionals and get 300,000 views a month, would you take it?
Yes.
I'd take it. I still have the nostalgia about the past and when I joined the platform in the past, but it's still a great opportunity. It's still a good opportunity to add value, to make fresh connections, and to get out of that death loop of just applying for jobs and not hearing back and being ghosted by the machine. So I still think it's got a real place as part of a go-to-market strategy whilst job searching.
So if someone's listening and they're doing all the things, applying, posting, networking, and still getting nowhere, what would you tell them to change first?
Yeah. So the mindset is what needs to change first. And it's one of going from looking to attract opportunity rather than extract opportunity. So attract rather than extract. What we tend to do, totally understandably, is go out there and try and extract opportunities. So hit people up in our network, send them our resume, ask people what they've heard's going on in the market, ask people to keep us front of mind, apply for job adverts, ask recruiters for updates in terms of what they're seeing. We're extracting, right? The key to creating opportunity and attracting it is all about adding value. So, and this is so much better for our souls anyway, Mark, right? Like if we can go out there and pay into the ecosystem and add value, then that's how you're going to attract opportunity. And that could be, doing something for someone in your network, making connections with people in your network unrequested, mentoring some folks that are earlier in their career who then potentially connect you with things in the future, focusing more on building reciprocity and paying into the emotional bank account rather than going out and trying to extract during our time of need. Makes you feel better and actually seems to work really well for attracting opportunities as well.
Helps you with that mental health aspect.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, which is one of the most important aspects. And it is, as you know all too well by the sounds of it, a full-time job, right? Like that is the brutal reality of what we're doing here. So I still do get clients to go for a fake commute in the morning, get up, get out the house, get up at the time that you would normally get up to start a working day. Don't let that slip into mid-morning, right? Like we've all been there. It's easily done. Get up at a time that you would normally start, get out the house, go for a 20-minute walk or whatever it might be, or drive to the local coffee shop and come back and then walk back in and start your working day as if you're arriving in to start your working day. Schedule activities, have a spreadsheet with different tabs on it that's different things you're working on. Add as much value as you can. And just kind of take a more structured approach to it. If you're a marketing dude, market. If you're a supply chain person, build a supply chain of opportunity. If you're a project manager, project manage the thing. Like use your skills. Use the skills. It's so easy to become passive and feel like, more. And I've had moments like this myself the last few weeks where you just feel more just a passenger and more hopeless and helpless rather than driving the agenda. And that's what we need to do.
So at the end of the day, we talk a lot about on the show being ghosted by the machine. So from your perspective, what would actually make this whole process feel more human for us?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for creating this message and getting it out there, because one thing's for sure is we need to get the human back into human resources. And one of the big things that I think that we really need to work on is when we do land in role, committing to not forgetting what it feels like to be in transition. And I've seen this a lot because I've worked in headhunting, and the same candidate that was really struggling whilst in transition and who you had some, pretty deep coaching conversations around where they were at and how they were feeling about it, can land in role. And it's a bit like the Men in Black movie. It's like they get fired with that beam of light and they forget all of that. Yeah. And then I'll work with them as a headhunter, as a hiring manager, and they'll start being slow on feedback or requesting specific industry experience, even though as a candidate, they said you don't need an industry experience, it's all transferable. They just fall back into that role without taking the learnings of the job search with them. And we're in a difficult period right now. And I think a great commitment that the job seeker and candidate community can make is to take the learnings and the feelings that they've got right now and commit to not forgetting that when they turn up in post and get back to the day job. That would be the way to drive meaningful change.
It's, my daughter graduated from college last year. She applied numerous jobs. She got a message a year later from a company saying, "Thank you for applying, but at this time we found someone else to fill the role." A year later. And she goes, "Dad, I think I understand what ghosted by the machine means now." She says, I didn't understand it before. Now I get it. Is that the way it is? I says, when you talk to people that are job seekers that are going through this and they've applied for 500-600 jobs, and now they're using AI to mass send out distribute all of these resumes and not getting a single callback or a single message back or an email or the 3:00 email on a Sunday night. It's just ridiculous. They've just taken all of that out of applying for a job or finding it.
Well, it's only getting worse because of the automation element to it. So on one side of the hiring equation, we've got folks using AI to apply at mass and tailor their CV. And on the other side of the hiring equation, we've got AI agents scanning said CVs for AI involvement and trying to rank them using typically discriminatory factors. So it's just a mess. And there's hundreds and hundreds of CVs stacking up in amongst all of this. and lawsuits. You only got to Google some of the lawsuits that have already happened as a result of all of this. And so what I do think is going to happen is that less and less folks are going to advertise because of what was supposed to drive efficiency is actually driven inefficiency. And they'll be back to trying to cherry pick people off LinkedIn, trying to use headhunters where appropriate, trying to go out to their own networks to find solutions, because it's just going to become, so they're going to become so inundated with applications that it's not going to be a good use of anyone's time. I think that's where we're headed. I think it's going to revert back because it's become quite silly in some areas.
I think leadership is starting to see this. Maybe they can make a change soon. I don't know if it's going to be soon. It could be years, but they have to see what's going on. They have to feel it.
You can't say people are our most important asset in the annual report and then have an automated bot replying to a ambitious young lady 12 months after she's applied for a role. Like you're in complete contradiction with yourself. It's utter hypocrisy. So if they're serious about people being the most important asset, even in the technological age, if they're genuinely serious about values and being a moral employer and an ethical employer, this is a major problem that needs to be sorted out at a holistic level. And at the moment, I feel like we're hopefully we've hit rock bottom, and it can start to get better from here as executives understand the impact.
So I didn't put this question in my email, but I'm going to ask, when did you, going through your journey, say, I think I got to do this on my own. I don't see a job or career right now for me, and I think I need to do my own thing. Was there a point in that process?
Yeah, I think partly, well, self-employment's doubled in the last 10 years, right? So I think with modern tools, there is a general trend to being able to access self-employment of all types in a way we haven't previously. So I think it's partly timing and the tools that are available. You start looking at things like Canva, for example, which can create some really cool decks and content. I have zero graphic design capability, but that type of thing makes me feel confident about going out on my own because I can create half pretty good quality brochures, websites, posts using this tool, which makes up for my own inefficiency. So I think that, for me, some of it was timing and feeling like the tools were there for me to be able to do it. But also, I think, not everybody's cut out for permanent work either. And after some self-reflection, at times I struggle with the political side of working in organizations. And so for me, it was kind of, the pain of change was less than the pain of staying the same at the time. I felt burnt out by the political side of organizations and wanted to have the freedom to operate within my values and work in the way that I wanted. So that was it. And it's amazing once you actually take that leap and put it out there and you get your first clients going, it's a really, really good feeling. But then equally, I did that for 4 years and stepped back into a role because for me, I also missed being around people and being on a larger mission. So I think at any point, it's good to take a temperature check on where am I at? Do I have the skills and the risk appetite to go it alone, or actually do I need to be more permanent? I think it's good to be honest with yourself about that.
Well, Andrew, I really appreciate you being part of this and bringing that perspective to the conversation. Honestly, that's why we do this show, to connect what people are going through in their careers and what's actually happening in the hiring process. So if you're watching or listening and thinking, yeah, that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And if you'd like to share your story, feel free to email me or send me a DM. And if you want to stay plugged into real stories and real people behind today's hiring system, give us a follow and subscribe. New episodes and shorts drop every week. And if your organization believes in making hiring more human and wants to support conversations like this, we're opening up sponsorship spots, so feel free to reach out. I'm Mark Lane, and this is Ghosted by the Machine, because behind every application, there's a human. Let's make hiring human again. Andrew, thank you so much for your time today. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark. Keep up the mission. It's great.